You're listening to the Word Witch podcast. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Laurie-Ann Murabito, who is a reformed, painfully shy gal who couldn't make eye contact with others and accidentally became a professional speaker. A 2 times best-selling author of Rethink Leadership and Rethink Your Leadership, host of Be in Demand, a top 1.5% podcast. She has worked with private and Fortune 500 companies such as Johnson & Johnson, American Towers, and Far East Recycling. Today, Laurie-Ann works with coaches, consultants, and service providers who hate to sell and help them write and deliver a speech that positions them as the expert, attract perfect clients, and monetize their message. Her clients routinely step off the stage to more clients, leads, and future stage bookings. And I'm so excited for you to hear this episode because her work perfectly marries my work. They are just like hand in hand. They go so well together because my my belief is that people who write books are automatically positioned as an expert in their field. And one of the things that we're trying to do here is to get speaking engagement bookings, to be asked to come on people's panels and keynotes and things like that. And those types of exposure opportunities really help to attract more clients, get more leads, and really position you as an authority in your field. So I'm so excited for you to hear this episode, and let's just get right into it. Hello, hello, witches, mystics, and light workers, and welcome back to another episode of the Word Witch podcast. I'm here with Laurie-Ann, and is it Murabito?
Murabito, yes, nice.
Beautiful.
Great
Are you
job.
Italian by any chance?
The name is.
Okay,
I am half Portuguese and half French, which makes
okay.
me a cheap Mediterranean.
So funny. I'm 84% Italian and the rest like German, English, and various other things, but my husband is Scottish, so my last name is Scottish. Um, anyway, welcome, Laurie. Do you prefer Laurie or Laurie-Ann?
Laurie-Ann, please.
Okay, Laurie-Ann. Will you please tell my guests who you are, what you do, who you serve, and all that good stuff?
You bet. I, believe it or not, am a reformed painfully shy girl who accidentally became a professional speaker. And I kind of fell into the leadership and corporate engagement industry. And how
Mhm.
I got that first one is I said yes before I was ready. My head did one of these up and down, and inside I was thinking, actually, I was more like screaming to myself, "What are you doing? You're not a speaker." However, self-integrity is one of my highest values, and I showed up and I served that audience anyways. Didn't think about what if somebody asks me a question that I can't answer? What if I fumble over my words? What if I stutter? What if I freeze? Like none of those questions ever came to mind, most likely because I wasn't in my head. I was in my
Mhm.
heart and I was just there. I'm just going to serve. Now, I do tell people, learn from my mistake. I actually spoke about something that was not my expertise, which is kind of funny that I did that. But the funny thing is people came up to me afterwards and said, "So do you have a website? Do you work with
Wow.
clients?" And I was like, "Did you like not see that train wreck up there?" And so that's how I learned that speaking was really powerful because I thought that was maybe that was just that one time, but it happened again and again. And about 7 years ago, I left the professional leadership speaking because of an incident that happened in Fort Lauderdale. And it was all because somebody sent me a text message saying, "Laurie-Ann, do you write speeches for people?" and I helped this woman out. She hit a home run with her very first speech, completely changed her business. And like most of us entrepreneurs, we pivot because it's like, oh, I wonder if anybody else wants to know what I know. And so that's what brought me into the online world. And what I do is I work with coaches, consultants, and service providers, and I help them write and deliver amazing presentations to use as their best form of marketing.
That is so cool. Can you tell me what was it like the very first time that you stepped out onto stage, that very first event? What was going through your mind? What did you feel inside your body?
I think my heart was pounding.
Yeah.
But because I knew a little bit about like speaking and building like some sort of evidence, I remember my sister was there. She was videotaping the event. It was a hot July day in a little conference center that had no air conditioning, and it literally was standing room only.
Oh
And
no.
I spoke for 15, 20 minutes. And the funny thing about that is I turned into what I call the college professor. All I
Mm,
did was dish out information to the audience, like telling them this is what you need to do. So there was no beginning. There
yeah.
was no who is Laurie-Ann? Who is this woman who's speaking to us? But they were all very interested in the
Hmm.
topic. And then there was no ending. I literally ended it like this. Okay, I'm done now. And if you would like to speak to me, I'll be in the back of the room. All I wanted to do was to get away from all these eyes that were on me at that time. And it's kind of funny looking back on it. I mean, like, I made every mistake that
Hmm.
you possibly could make, except for not showing up, that during that one speech,
Yeah.
that I learned, and that's what I help my clients do is to help them almost do the express way.
Hmm.
Like, here's how to write and deliver an amazing presentation that gets you rebooked and gets you clients and helps you monetize your story.
Mm. I love that because we are all about storytelling here. I'm a fiction writer, and one of the things that I love helping my clients do is tell their stories of
Mhm.
healing and spiritual development and personal development. So I love that. Um, you are all about the pre-speak routine, right? And we were talking about this a little bit before we hopped
Yes.
on, and I would love for you to dive into that a little bit because I am somebody who struggles really deeply with being seen. So you
Yeah.
won't see me post a whole lot of like TikTok videos or Instagram videos. I I find that my voice fails me whenever I
Mm.
turn the camera on, and this is very new for me on YouTube to be like putting myself out there this way, and it's very nerve-wracking, and this is only like my third like video episode. So what can people do to get over that fear or to like get more comfortable in their body, in their voice, and really open up that throat chakra?
You bet. So first off, you've done this, you said 3 times, some
Yes.
videos for YouTube. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So if you were my client, I would say after each video, and in this case, it's like a podcast interview, after each of these that you do, I want you to do something that you really enjoy.
Mm,
Whether that's, sitting by the fire, having a bath, reading a really good book, going for a walk, like whatever, it's something that you just absolutely love so that you know that there's a reward at the end of doing this video. That would be
yeah.
one thing. And the first thing I would say, you need a pre-speaking routine.
Yes, I thought you would
Something
say that.
that just helps you get into that energy. Now, I do this before sales calls. I do this before I get on real stages, like in-person events, and also for virtual. So you can imagine what I was doing beforehand. I'm going to tell you exactly what I was doing. For me, and everybody has to figure out what this is, and you know what that is. There is something that you do or you listen to that always puts you in that high energy, like it just brings out the real you. For
Hmm.
me, and this has been my routine for years because I used to teach group fitness classes. Even at
Okay.
the end of the day, after I used to work in a hospital, being exhausted. Like for me to have movement and music, like my nervous system just goes into it knows exactly what it's supposed to do. So
Mm.
for me these days, because I don't teach fitness classes, I dance around my living room. I put some AirPods in. There's a particular song that I will listen to, and I'll listen to it like once or twice. And then it's just like, I'm ready.
I love
So
that.
that, so that's one thing. And for you, how you were saying, like, my voice fails me, I
Yeah.
would say if you like to sing, maybe do some singing, voice warm-ups. And there's
Mhm.
lots of videos on YouTube that'll share with you like how to do some voice warm-ups. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not really uttering words, but you're almost like humming.
Yeah.
But all you're really trying to do is like get the blood flow to your
Mhm.
vocal cords so
Okay.
that you can show up and you can speak and then that voice won't fail you.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because I do love to sing. I'm not very good at it, but I do love to sing. I'm a Life Path 3, and we're typically we love to express through art and, of course, being a writer and everything. But yeah, I do love to express through my voice. And you know what's so funny? My very first like experience with public speaking was it was not as nerve-wracking. I'll just tell you, it was my grandmother's funeral, and I gave her eulogy. And I
Oh,
wrote this thing being a writer, I was like, "I know this is I was born to do this. Like, I have to write this eulogy." So I wrote this thing, um, and the day of her funeral, I was super nervous, but I got up there at the podium or the altar and gave this eulogy that was probably like 10 minutes long. And what it was fine. Like I didn't feel disconnected from my body. I didn't feel like any sort of I was just grounded. And I don't know if that was my grandmother like coming through, but um and then I don't know what happened. Like I gave my grandfather's a few years later. Again, still like fine. Like I could do that very easily. And then something happened along the way. I don't know what. I even took public speaking classes in college. I it just like clammed up on me. It just like completely shut down. And so now I'm working through that shadow with being a podcast host and now a YouTube podcast host. So yeah, those like grounding exercises that kind of like put you back into your body and into your voice. And I was a classically trained dancer from when I was like 4 up until high school. Um, and so, yeah, dancing and movement and like that sort of thing definitely gets me into my body. And I'm a certified breathwork coach. So, breathwork also really helps me too.
oh,
Like,
you got all the tools, movement,
yeah,
breathing.
I
Let's
just
put
haven't been using them.
yeah, and let's combine all of them. And
Yeah.
maybe even you need a certain necklace with a
Mm.
crystal
Hmm.
that you wear, like that you almost put on like ceremonial, like
Yeah.
put it on just before you're going to speak.
It's so funny that you said that because I have a moonstone pendant that I purchased specifically because when I saw it, it was on Etsy from someone's Etsy shop. And when I saw it, I had this vision of myself wearing it and being a speaker, like and speaking. And I hosted a few women's circles in the past, and the most recent one was in August, and I wore that pendant, and it was like it instantly brings out the speaker in me. I don't know how to, it's like I
You need to
embody
wear
some.
that all the time,
You,
every time you're going to speak.
I do, I do. Thank you for reminding me that I have that tool. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Um,
I want
so
to share something
yeah, please do, please do.
before before we like get down any rabbit
Yeah.
holes here. One of the things that I love to share with people on podcasts and people who are not currently using speaking is I want them to understand how much opportunity is out there.
Mm,
So, years ago, MPI did a survey and a study, and they came up with that on average, every single day, there are 20,000 speaking opportunities
wow,
globally. Globally. The
wow.
United States has 7,500, every single day. So let's put that into perspective with the 50 states. Granted, you know, during the winter, people are not going to Alaska for conferences. They're going to Hawaii, California,
Sure.
Texas, and Florida. Okay. So, but let's just say it's evenly distributed. That means with 50 states, that's 150 opportunities per state.
Wow.
Now, I live really close to the border of Massachusetts here in my southern New Hampshire home.
Yeah.
That means I got 300 opportunities. And it only takes me like a little over an hour to actually get to Rhode Island. So
Okay.
that another 150 right there. So we're talking like 450 opportunities every single day.
Wow.
Now, MPI came up with that number based on basically conference rooms, hotel rooms being rented for an event with a
Okay.
speaker. But here you and I are sitting here on this podcast, and to me, this is a form of speaking.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
so at least 150 opportunities here in the United States if you know where to look. Now, another number that I want to throw out is there are 250,000 association and professional trade groups that are out there.
Wow.
Now, you know, when you go to the circus or you
Yeah.
go to the fair and there's that person who is blowing up those long, thin balloons and then they twist and turn them into some cute little animal and hand it to some little kid and makes them really happy? Yeah,
Yes.
there's an association for that.
No way.
Yes, an association for everything. One of my
Wow.
clients speaks in the real estate industry, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a book that is no longer in print.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did buy this years ago. So one day I pulled it out and just looked up real estate so that I could take a picture for him
Mm-hmm.
of all the different associations and trade groups that are underneath the real estate umbrella. There was 134.
Wow. Now, is this a list that my listeners can like go find to see if there's no?
Not
So
really.
how would they
How
find?
would they find this? Okay, so
Yeah.
here's what I would tell people. What is some keywords
Okay.
about your ideal client
Mm-hmm.
that you could put into Google plus the word association and maybe
Mm.
even your state or a nearby big city
Okay.
and let Google do the work for you? That
Okay.
is one way. There is also another way that I was just recently reminded of, and I recently did a training on this. There's also an association for all of those association CEOs.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay. So the
Okay.
hierarchy keeps going.
Yes, it really does. So, gosh, the one right here in New England is the New England ASE, I think is what it is.
Mm.
It's actually I think it's SAE, the Society of Association Executives.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to, so everybody find this. If you go to their main website, they just want you to join as a member, and then I
Mm-hmm.
think they tell you you have to pick a chapter to belong to.
Okay.
So there's no way that there's a list on their website of
Mm-hmm.
all the different chapters that are here in the United States. So type in Society of Association Executives and then put your state in.
Mm. Okay.
Your state, because you know this is where you're going to be hanging out mostly.
Yeah.
Type in your state, find your local chapter. Now
Mm-hmm.
that's the chapter that I think that you should join
Mm-hmm.
or at least attend one of their meetings or their conferences, because within that group is probably going to be a few hundred executives of different associations that, like different chapters for
Mm-hmm.
lots of different associations, meaning
Mm-hmm.
HVAC, human resources, engineering, CPA, real estate. You're going to have a bunch of those executives that are basically running those associations. So you're probably thinking, but I'm not interested in the real estate or the HVAC. Well, don't worry. Even if you can just find 10 to 15 associations that you're like, those associations have my ideal
Mm-hmm.
clients. So
Yeah.
I'm going to get to know those 10 to 15 CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people I'm building relationships with because the speaking world is a relationship business.
Wow, that is so interesting. I would have never thought in a million years to go look for an association specifically for, say, spiritual teachers or yogis, or I mean, I guess there is like Yoga International or those
Mhm.
types of things. But so most of my listeners are probably going to be in a little bit more of like the woo-woo spaces,
Yeah.
and um I'm sure there has to be like organizations for people interested in, even if it's like parapsychology or just all of the things like quantum physics or yeah, I'm thinking up
You're-
all of the different associations that I could find my way into.
But that, and also I run these monthly trainings that are just
Mhm.
open for people, and they're on my podcast, and they're called speaker circles.
Mm,
And last month or in January, I was sharing with people, go to an association and go look at their conference. And so I
mhm,
played a game with them. I said, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to go find this." And here's exactly what I was doing. So I'm just north of Boston. There are conference centers. So
mm.
here, in Boston, one of the big conference centers happens to be the Heinz Auditorium. Well, the Heinz
Okay.
Auditorium has an agenda of all the conferences that are coming there.
Oh, nice.
So I was sharing with them, go and look at them, go
Hmm.
find the conferences, go to their website and start looking through the agenda for the up and coming meeting, a conference event, because you will start to see, wow, this might be HVAC, but
Hmm.
I could totally slip in a leadership talk, a mindset talk, because you
Mm.
start to see what they're looking for. And I
Right,
think
right.
we're starting to see lots of what's considered a woo-woo topic is
Yeah.
being held in these everyday conferences because this is what people want.
Yeah.
They want the mindset work. People
Hmm.
want to understand a little bit more about quantum physics. Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. And my husband just finished his master's degree in organizational leadership and development. And a lot of what he learned was actually mindset work.
Hmm.
And so what his job eventually will be once he moves into it, will be teaching leaders of bigger organizations how they can help their teams, their staff, to have better mindsets around whatever the work is that they do, and to come in to like a healthier environment that way. So if everybody has a healthy mindset, the entire company benefits because everybody's happier, healthier, more driven, more productive, and it just kind of filters all the way down. Um,
Yes.
and like the big companies, like some of the companies that are like seeking out people who do this type of work are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for these coaches. And it's becoming something I think will change the entire makeup of corporate America.
100%, 100%. Like we've raised a generation of kids who just text. They don't even use their phone as a phone and
Hmm.
dial up and call somebody. So they
Hmm.
don't even know how to communicate, let
Yeah.
alone spell correctly. There are communication experts that large companies and even smaller companies have had to hire
Hmm.
to teach these people how to communicate effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really wild. Even in my own day job, my full-time job, one of the courses, I create courses for them and I help them um, with like internal and external education.
Hmm.
And one of the courses, or many of the courses that we put out, have a lot to do with, self-leadership and, external leadership, mindset, and, all of the things that are soft skills that help a person be a better worker, a better just human being in general. And with the communication skills piece, we have one that's specifically for internal communication and external communication. How are you communicating across your email, across like your like Teams meetings or whatever that looks like for your company. And it's really a whole art almost.
It is. Communication is everywhere, every day that we are
Hmm.
doing. So I may be talking about, and I help my clients with writing and delivering speeches that
Yeah.
is on a stage or a virtual stage, but really it's learning how to communicate with confidence, whether you are just on a sales call, you're in line at the bank or the grocery store at a networking event, and somebody says, "So what do you do?" I mean, to be able
Yeah.
to have this answer that just eloquently flows. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, there's a lot of energy in our voice. And so
Hmm.
that energy of it's really you that's speaking and you're not like reading from a phone book and just like,
Yeah.
well, what I do is I'm a coach for, like, that's just not
Yeah.
exciting. But that energy behind your voice.
Yeah, yeah. How can people put that into action? Because I recently with our we have a joint mentor. I just figured out what my like my sales pitch not sales pitch, like elevator pitch
Yeah.
for like what I do. And I still feel like I fumble with it. So how
Do you want to practice? I'm totally putting you on the spot here.
yes, let's do it. Let's give our
Okay.
listeners.
Domenica, what do you do?
I help spiritual teachers write books in their field so that they can position themselves as an authority in their niche.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. I feel like I had to think about it. It's like I felt like the words weren't my brain to mouth connection like wasn't as flowy or like liquid.
I think you just need to say it a few more times. That's
Yeah.
all. Like again and
Okay.
again and again. But it's very precise. Like I'm not questioning like I get it. And so
Yeah.
that's what your elevator pitch is. It should be something that's short, sweet, to the point. I always tell people like your elevator pitch is a commercial and not a documentary.
Yeah.
So, so it's very short. I get it, and
Yeah.
what it's doing is it's a commercial so that whoever you're speaking to might say, "So how do you do that? What do you
Mm.
mean?"
Hmm.
Like you want to elicit that next question.
Yeah.
Mine's very simple. I help coaches and consultants, small business owners write and deliver amazing presentations.
Yeah.
Done.
Simple and to the
Yeah.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like it always has to speak to who you serve, like your particular avatar,
Mhm.
and the thing that you help them do. Like very specifically, what do you help them do? I feel like it's just the energy behind it still feels a little wonky to me, I guess.
And I think here comes my healthcare background, so I'm pulling out my prescription pad and
Yeah.
saying, I think all you need to do is just say it again and again and again
Okay. I'll
because
get
I
in front
don't,
of the mirror and
yeah, like it's just, it's not a habit yet.
yeah. Yeah, I really truly haven't said it enough.
Yeah, that's all you need
Because
to do.
I don't like hop on Instagram every day and create TikToks and all of that sort of thing, which I wish I did more. I wish I had the confidence to do that more. And maybe you can
Just
speak to
just do
that.
it. Just do the darn thing.
So
Okay,
how would
so
you,
I will share with you and your audience. I am right now doing my own internal challenge.
okay.
So I uncovered, I don't want to call it a big T trauma. I'm just going to call it like a little T trauma. But I
Hmm.
was bullied when I was living overseas in seventh grade,
Hmm.
eighth grade, excuse me. I was there for eighth and ninth grade. And the sort of bullying that I experienced was, it was a I went from here in the US, a co-ed,
Hmm.
public school, and I went to Japan and I ended up in a Catholic all-girls school with the navy blue uniforms and all.
Hmm.
And there was only 15 of us in my eighth grade class. And one
Wow.
day, about halfway through the first semester, I walked into class and nobody would talk to me, wouldn't even look at me. I
Mm.
have no idea what I said, no
Hmm.
idea what I did. I just remember talking to one of the girls and she was saying like, I can't, she's literally looking around. They can't see me talking to you. We're not talking to you. And I was
Oh,
just like
that's
left there in
horrible.
shock.
Yeah.
So there I was prior to that day was being myself.
Mm.
And now I was being given the cold shoulder for being myself. So that told my subconscious, you can't be yourself. You have to be
Yeah.
somebody else. So this is something that I'm recently like really uncovering, and now I want a new habit.
Yeah.
So I have literally been going onto Instagram once a day. Like there is a reminder in my calendar to do an IG story.
Oh
And I
my
just
God.
go into IG stories and I just
Yeah.
tell, like, okay, so today's tip is, or today's
Yeah.
story is,
Hmm.
and it's just me practicing,
Hmm.
grounding myself, doing the pre-speaking routine. What do I want to
Hmm.
talk about? And here's what I do. I am not talking to the world.
Hmm.
So this is part of my advice for you. You're talking to one person.
Okay.
Okay. So it could be, hey, Lorianne, come here. I got a secret to tell you.
Yeah.
Because there's this energy when you're telling somebody a secret, like it's
Yeah.
really cool. Like you really need to hear this. So I'm just like pretending that I'm talking to one person.
Hmm.
I have no idea how many people are going to watch that. It might be five, it might be 17, it might be 50.
Hmm.
But each of those 50 people is going to feel like I'm only talking to them.
Right.
So it's about a practice so that we train our subconscious that it's safe for me to just be me.
Hmm.
So practice with your energy.
Yeah.
Practice like, like think about different songs that you really do like, and you might figure out, hey, I've got five of them that I really enjoy and I know put me in the right energy. And you might figure out by, hey, I'm going to play each of these in my pre-speaking routine. And then you realize, oh, this song, this really brings out the real me.
I'll have to think about that. Actually, more recently, it's Lady Gaga's new song, Abracadabra.
Hmm.
I mean, that's
Yes.
just like it speaks to my soul, and whenever I turn it on, it's like that 7-year-old little girl who did ballet class comes back out.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mine's a Nickelback song.
Okay.
If, if
You know,
today
they
was
get a
your
bad rap,
last
but I love
day,
them.
yeah, if today was your last day, I even like when I was speaking on leadership, I actually would mention their song
Mm,
from the stage
yeah.
um, because of the message behind it.
Hmm.
Literally, if today was your last day, like what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I that's a question I've actually been asking myself a lot lately.
Mhm.
And we won't go into that, but it's definitely a question that I encourage listeners out there to really think about because we're all here because we want our businesses to support us so that we can leave our day jobs. And so like what in the speaking world especially. So what my clients are trying to do is write books so that they position themselves as an authority in their field,
Mhm.
right? So that eventually they'll attract clients because writing books automatically positions you as an authority. It attracts clients and speaking gigs.
Yeah.
So most of my clients who are listening right now want to be speakers. They want to do keynotes. So to like kind of bringing that back to like what would you do like not if today was your last day necessarily, but what would you do every day to live your life to the fullest and to I feel like never leave anything on the table when
Mm.
you lay your head down at night.
Mhm.
Um, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but how how does speaking help them to become that version of themselves that is financially free enough to support their spiritual businesses.
Oh gosh, where I could go in a million directions with this, but let's first talk about the book.
Okay.
So for everybody who's writing a book, I
Hmm.
want you to get out there and just tell your audience, whether that's email, that's Instagram stories, that's a Facebook Live, like wherever. Tell
Hmm.
people you're writing a book.
Hmm.
Bring them along for the journey.
Hmm.
Because one of the things that, and I've written two books and have been able to make them both Amazon bestsellers. And one of the ways that I did that was I created this inner circle, like join my inner circle But while you're writing the book, you get to like your inner circle gets to, hey, read here. I just finished this chapter, chapter 3, chapter 4. Just let me know that it makes sense because we all know, like as writers, like I knew what I was talking about,
Yep.
but it may
Yep.
not come across in the
Yes.
writing. And I always tell them, like, do not edit. Like, I don't need an editor. I just want
No,
to
not
know,
yet.
I just want to make sure that it makes sense. So that's
Yes.
what I did with my inner circle, but also having the wait list of
Mm-hmm.
people that want to know and see this book. Now, I've had clients,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my clients have written books.
Mm-hmm.
They've done exactly what I tell them to do. Like this is what we do. And so your inner circle is then going to write you a testimonial. That
Yeah.
testimonial
Yeah.
is going to go in the book.
Okay.
So then when I launch the book on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
my inner circle knows the day before. And I
Mm-hmm.
say, please go into Amazon, buy the 99-cent Kindle, and leave your review. Here's what your review was, just like cut and paste. I try to make
Yeah.
it super easy for them. That way, the next day, when it's
Mm-hmm.
live, when I finally tell the world,
Mm-hmm.
they're looking at that like, wow, there's already 25 five-star reviews.
Yeah.
And it's because you did all this stuff in the beginning. Now, how's a book going to help you get booked to speak? Well, there are a lot of people that are applying to get these speaking positions. They
Mm-hmm.
don't all have books.
Yep.
So make sure the meeting planner knows that you have a book.
Yep.
Mail them a copy. If during your pre-event meeting you were having a conversation with them before they decided,
Mm-hmm.
send the book and maybe even put a sticky note that says, pay attention to chapter 3, because this is what I will make sure my keynote focuses on, because this is the problem that you're trying to solve with your group.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's one idea. Another idea is not every association, like there isn't a flat fee for
Mm-hmm.
speaking. And I'm talking, like your podcast, your listeners, they're not professional speakers. Like that's a whole different category. We
Mm-hmm.
are coaches, consultants, we're spiritual workers, and we're using, like speaking is complementary, it's a form of our
Mm-hmm.
marketing. So
Yeah.
not every association or group or company is going to have the budget to bring you in. And that's okay because your book might actually help you reach or exceed your speaker fee. So this is what I did for a particular company, a large
Mm-hmm.
company that brought me in to speak. And it was like, here's their budget for a speaker. And it was
Okay.
below my speaking fee. And this is at a time when I was a professional speaker.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was part of my proposal to them was I can come in and speak, or option 2 was I can come in and speak and everybody can have a copy of my book and I'm happy to personalize it for everyone. And they could buy that at a discounted rate. They
Okay.
chose that.
Oh,
Now,
interesting.
everybody gets a copy of my book.
Yeah.
I have a publisher that's up in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And they will literally ship the books to wherever the location is that I'm going to
That's
be
awesome.
speaking at. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody got a copy.
I love that. That's such a
And
good marketing tactic.
yes. And guess what? Nobody throws away a book.
That's true.
So
Nobody
it's your
throws away a book. They
That's
might
right. It's your
donate
best
it.
business card. Oh, even if they donate it, I have had people call me and say, I found your book at like the grocery store where they have like all these used books for like a
Yeah.
dollar each. I've
Yeah.
had, I got the sweetest voicemail once from
Oh,
this woman who was in her 70s. And she said, Laurie-Ann, I have never read a book from beginning to end that I can remember outside of school.
yeah.
She goes, and she left me the most beautiful, lovely, lovely testimonial. I still have it. Um, and other times, if it ends up in a used bookstore, I've
Hmm.
had people see it who also
Hmm.
knew me. But
Right.
that's another great way, like, somebody's just going to get it at a discounted rate.
Hmm.
So again, make sure you have a really good title.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. I teach my clients about title writing and headline writing and subheadline writing and all of that thing to make sure it's catchy. It speaks to exactly what it's about, so you're not confusing your reader. But
Mhm.
yeah, 100%. I love that.
And then make sure you get really good pictures when you are speaking.
Yes. Oh, if I could like if I could be on stage and do speaking, I one of the things that I would make sure 100% is that I either booked a photographer or had, a best friend come with me or somebody who I trusted to take good photos and to definitely do that so that you have really good pictures for marketing yourself on social media or, whatever, just to show people that you are a professional speaker or that you've been asked to speak and that solidifies your authority in your field.
Yes. I was just at a New Englander podcasting meeting yesterday, and we had
Hmm.
a speaker, and she was speaking on websites about, like your podcasting website. And I did tell her ahead of time, I said, I'm going to take some pictures. But there's also a virtual audience. So she was sitting during her presentation, holding the microphone in a chair so that because the camera was on her, so that the
Hmm.
virtual audience, could also benefit. And
Yeah.
so afterwards, like we're just kind of like wrapping up the meeting. I was like, "Did you want a picture of you speaking?" She goes, "Yeah, I would love that." So before it ended, I like, "Hold on, everybody." And I literally told everybody what to do. I put her in a position. I was behind her. This is one of my favorite photos,
Yeah.
is to have a picture from behind so that you see the audience in the background. And so
Hmm.
I just used my iPhone,
Yeah.
you know, with the in portrait mode. So the
Okay.
audience was blurry, but I got
Hmm.
a little side profile with her holding the microphone.
Beautiful.
And so I love to do that for other speakers. And as
Yeah.
far as like finding somebody to come in video or
Hmm.
even and take really good photographs,
Hmm.
if you're speaking during the week, there's a lot of wedding photographers and wedding videographers who are doing nothing on a
Mm.
Wednesday afternoon. So you
Yeah.
literally could just be like, hey, if you could show up at this location from this time to this time, I just need the raw footage. They don't have to do anything fancy to it. I'll give you 200 bucks.
Yeah. That's such a
A
great
lot of
idea.
times they will do that. You
Hmm.
get a tripod and a
Hmm.
really good, since this is video, a really good wireless lavalier. And here's the one that I recommend to people. It's like 20 bucks on Amazon. Use this. So you could
Yeah.
put your phone in the back of the room,
Yeah.
use your lavalier, along
Hmm.
with, I want you to use a handheld microphone, wireless
Okay.
handheld,
Hmm.
especially if you're just starting to get some really good pictures. Instead
Hmm.
of using like the one that comes off the face or a
Yeah.
lavalier that's like right off on your shirt,
Hmm.
handheld, because like if I see pictures of you with the microphone in your hand, I
Hmm.
know that you're the speaker.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that advice. Definitely send me the link to that because I've been like trying to get my TikToks out there, but also like I need a lavalier because they just make the sound in your phone so much better.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely drop us that link.
And here's the other great tip I want for everybody when you get a speaking event. You know, when you're just about to say something that is remarkable, profound, like drop the mic moment,
Yeah.
look in the camera. I don't
Ooh.
care where the camera is, but I don't want a profile of you saying something like, speaking's the fastest way to grow your business. I want you to
Yeah.
look in the camera and say, speaking's the fastest way to grow your business. Because if
Mhm.
the camera's in the where even your videographer is in the back or even off to the side, just look that way. The
Yeah.
audience is just going to think that you're looking at the people that are in the back towards that area. That's all.
Yeah. That's such good advice. Awesome. Let's switch gears. I want you to
Yes.
talk about speaking being redefined.
Mm. Yeah, speaking is so much more than just stages. So when I
Let's
came into the online world, it was 2017. And as we all know, 3 years later, something very unique happened to the world. And
Mm-hmm.
I was literally like, huh? And I even had to redefine it for myself. And that's what made me realize there are so many different forms of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Being right here on your podcast, I have a podcast. Those are forms of speaking. Picking up your phone and opening up the IG or even the TikTok app and creating videos, doing
Mm-hmm.
stories, doing lives. These are all forms of speaking. even
Mhm.
sales calls. And I know I alluded to that earlier.
Yes.
Whenever you are communicating with another human being,
Mhm.
this is a form of speaking. So let's redefine what speaking is. Now, I also think that stages needs to be redefined. And hence,
Okay.
the same thing. It's podcasting, it's sales calls, like et cetera. It's all the same thing. But it all needs to also blend with your personality and
Mhm.
your business model. So
Okay.
I know that there are some wonderful moms out there that have young children. And they're like, I can't hop on an airplane to cross the country because I don't have anybody who's going to watch my babies.
Mhm.
So what do they do? They might say, hey, I can pre-record a presentation for your mastermind or your association or your meeting or your summit.
Mhm.
Or, one of their great stages could be IG stories. Babies go down for a nap, which I
Mhm.
know is very unpredictable. It's not always at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes it's 2. It's 1:30. It's 11 in the morning that the babies are going down for a nap. Beautiful time. Just take advantage of it. Here's my
Mhm.
time. Babies are taking a nap. And this is when I do my IG stories and I do a little live. I do a little video. I do a tip. I share.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
talk about the book that I'm writing.
So, real quick, how can people say somebody's listening to this and they're like, okay, that all sounds really, really great. I would love to do that, but I don't know what to talk about. What is your advice for picking topics or like figuring out a schedule, even of like things to talk about, maybe for like an entire month or an entire quarter?
Mhm. Definitely for a month. Let's start with a month.
Okay.
Come up with topics.
Hmm.
You're basically like, I did a podcast interview on this. Like, as business owners, we have split personalities. Part of us is the CEO, and part of us
Hmm.
is the employee. This is one of
Yeah.
those situations where you're going to be the CEO and you're going to decide here are the 30 or 25, however, if you want to do it Monday through Friday. But I think doing it 7 days a week really keeps you in the habit.
Uh-huh.
7 days a week, like these are the topics that I'm going to talk about on this Monday and this Tuesday, etc.
Hmm.
Because then you go into employee mode.
Hmm.
Wake up tomorrow and it's going to be Tuesday morning.
Hmm.
And you're like, instead of deciding again, what do I feel like talking about? You've already assigned yourself. The boss has already told you what you're going to
Hmm.
talk about. And so you're going to do a live on that very topic. You're going to
That's
get to a
awesome.
point. You do that for a month,
Yeah.
and come that second month, it's going to get easier and easier. Like ideas are just going to come to you. You're going to be out picking up groceries at the store, doing some errands. You're going to like, oh, that would be you see
Yeah.
something that is just going to spark an idea. You're going to pick up your phone. I'm an Apple girl. So I'm going to open up my notes and I've got this list of story ideas. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to like, there you go. I also have another note that's like podcast ideas. I,
Yeah.
we always come up with these things when we're not thinking about them. So
That's so
again,
true.
CEO makes a decision, employee's going to have to do it because if the employee says, yeah, I really don't feel like doing that today. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
What the CEO is going to say, really? That's
Yeah.
your job. If you don't do it, I will be forced to fire you. So just do it, and it gets easier with time. That's one idea.
That's,
So, what should you talk about?
yeah.
What are the 10 common questions that people ask you about what you do and your
Hmm.
expertise? Right
Mm.
there's a week and a half.
Yeah.
Now, the next week and a half, what are 10 objections that people have? And objections are usually around money, time, and self-belief.
Hmm.
So you're going to come up with 10 because they come in different, shall I say, suits,
Hmm.
different uniforms. Like procrastination just shows up in all
Oh,
these
yeah.
different cute uniforms is what I like to call it. And it's just showing up differently. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Oh, I have to go do laundry. Oh, there's my procrastination showing up again.
Hmm.
No, I
Hmm.
don't need to go do laundry right now. I need to go do this live because the babies are sleeping.
Yep.
Hmm.
That's exactly what I tell my clients about. One of my pillars is consistency. And I'm very firm on you need to schedule your writing sessions, and it has to be as if it's a job. Because if you wait for inspiration, you will never do it. It'll take you 20 years to write a book if you only wrote it when you felt inspired. So it needs to be scheduled in your calendar either the same time every day or the same time every week, however many sessions that you can fit into your schedule. And without that structure, without that, like you said, CEO over your shoulder saying it's time to write, your employee self is not going to write the book. It's not
No.
because it's going to, like you said, go do the laundry, go take out the trash, go um, mow the lawn, and you've never mowed the lawn before in your life, but today's the day you're going to learn how to
Right,
mow
I'm
the
gonna
lawn.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go do the thing because no book was ever written as a first draft.
Right. Never, never. And that's,
Always. You
yeah, the
need
word
something to edit.
rejection. What was that?
You need something to edit.
Yeah, yeah, it's so funny because I always tell my clients the first draft is you just getting the ideas out onto paper, and the second draft is you reformulating it or restructuring it so that it makes sense. So the first draft, and I think this was Stephen King who said the first draft is you telling yourself the story, and the second draft is you telling the reader the story. And I love
Mhm.
that analogy because it's so true. It never comes out perfect the first time. No sentence ever comes out perfect the first time.
No.
Um, and so it's just the first draft is the hardest because it's about that routine and coming to the page every single day or, how whatever your schedule is, doing the work, putting in the time, being dedicated, and then when it's over, you have it already, it's already there. Now
Yeah.
all you have to do is fix it.
Yeah,
Just make it
exactly.
better.
And it's the exact same thing with speaking. I always tell my clients, like write your opening, write your authority section. And like messy is better than nothing
Yeah.
because you need something to edit. You need
Yes.
you need a place to start crafting
Hmm. Yep.
because speaking is just verbal art.
It is. That's I love that you also help your clients write their speeches first because I always think about people who are doing like TEDx talks and how just like confident and like they're so embodied. And I'm like, how does a person do that? How do they just completely get ground themselves into their body, give this speech that they've memorized because nobody has note cards, and
Mm-mm.
it's so impressive. And I imagine that nobody goes onto a TEDx stage with like gonna wing it. Nobody just wings
No,
it. So what
no.
is the speech writing process like?
So the speech writing process for my clients and my students inside my programs is a lot of brain dump. So
Mm,
here's an analogy that I use with them. When you're writing the value section of like a 50-minute presentation keynote, you're allowed to share 3 points.
mhm,
So when I'm packing to go on a vacation, and I'm going through my closet and my drawers, and I just throw all the different outfits that I think I'm going to want for this particular vacation and
mhm,
location and all the different events. And then I have to decide, okay, what's actually going to fit into the suitcase.
mhm.
So it's a yes and no. So we are just brain dumping, and then we're going through the brain dump and yes and no. Except a large suitcase checked in, that's a lot of outfits. I'm then
Yeah.
going to say, excuse me, I am then going to say to you, oh, you can't bring that suitcase. You can bring a carry-on. Okay,
Okay.
so now you're just like, wow, that carry-on is like a third of the size of this suitcase. So
Hmm.
now you're going to whittle things down even more. And then I'm going to say to you, oh, by the way, I booked our flight on Spirit, so you can take a backpack. So now you can only put 3 outfits in there.
Wow.
3 outfits. Now,
Hmm.
each of those outfits, will have supporting data. So an outfit being a point that you're going to be sharing with the audience, and
Hmm.
3 pieces of supporting data, story, case studies,
Mhm.
analogies, metaphors. You just need three.
Okay. I love that.
So that's where we start. It's literally like I also help them like they start from the beginning. So there's different sections of what I call an in-demand signature speech. Your opening is designed to grab your audience's attention. You
Mhm.
want to give your audience, you want them to lean in and put their phone down.
Mhm.
You want them to hear a bing and they ignore it. But here's what happens to your audience next as we go into your next section. They gently kind of lean back in their chair and start to cross their arms. And what they're thinking is, yeah, but why should I listen to you?
Mm.
And this is where the authority section is. So
Mhm.
it's a conversation, so it's not a boring resume. It's a conversation to explain to the audience if they've never met you and this is the first time they've ever heard you speak, why you're the person to continue to listen to the end of the talk.
Mhm.
So for instance, I might say to my audience, if we've never met, I just want you to know that I'm a reformed painfully shy girl who accidentally became a professional speaker. That was 25 years ago. Like I have 25 years of experience.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit more that goes into that. And then I would transition into now let's get to basically why you came. Now I'm going to teach those 3 points, and each of those points is going to have three pieces of supporting data. And then you have a call to action. What do you want the audience to do?
Yeah.
Do you want them to sign up for something? Do you want them to book a call with you? And then you close. You just have a masterful close, which is like putting that beautiful bow on that gorgeous Christmas gift, you know, and you just wrap it all up.
I love that. I don't think I've actually ever seen a speaker do that, have a call to action in their speech, which would be like, hello, like that should
Hmm.
be the number one reason that you're up there. It's the reason we're all here. We're trying to, well, number one, we're trying to help the world. But number two, we're trying to sustain our careers through books or speaking or, however you attract your clients. And that should be at least something that you try to do every time you speak is to have your audience uh, connect with you again after the speech.
Yeah, you are building a relationship with those audience members.
Yeah,
Everybody who raises their hand, they
yeah.
want to deepen the relationship with you.
Hmm.
So you've got to have something that
Yeah.
you offer them so that the right people who are raising their hand are going to deepen the
Mhm.
relationship with you.
I love that.
And
Okay,
here's
so
how you can do that.
yeah.
I'll share with you how I do this. And then
Okay.
you and everybody who's listening to this, modify it for your situation.
Okay.
So there is no way that I could share with you 25 years worth of speaking experience in this 45, 50-minute session that we had together. But here's what I got for you. And
Mm.
I would share with them like whatever for me, I love to give a lead magnet. Go
Hmm.
sign up for, and it's usually something, and I'll share it with your listeners also. It's usually something like go listen to my podcast.
Hmm.
And I actually have a new listener's guide. So I would lead them there because now they're still going to continue to learn from me and also hear my voice from my podcast.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And then you would just like, and today, like, here's what you learned today.
Hmm.
And I would just kind of gently go over point one, point two, and point three.
Mm.
And
I
thank you
love
very
that.
much. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. I'll be in the back of the room to answer any questions that you might have that didn't get answered earlier.
That's a great way to get people to actually come up to you and feel comfortable coming up to you. Because I've been to events where the person who spoke just seems so grandiose and like they seem so unapproachable because of, I guess, coming from a place that I'm not the expert and they are the expert, and that's intimidating sometimes. So
Mhm.
to open the floor, to open yourself up to them in that way, I think is really special because then not only do they trust you because of the speech that you just gave, but now they feel more comfortable with you and they deepen their trust in you because you invited them to come talk to you.
Absolutely. And if you're an introvert, go
Big
up
time.
there where the speaker is because you're going to meet other people, other like-minded people who also
Hmm.
want to talk to the speaker. It's a great way to just
Hmm.
stand there and people are naturally going to talk to you while they're waiting to speak to the speaker.
Yeah, that's lovely. Now, how can my listeners start putting some of this stuff into practice? Like if they, let's just say they have, I don't know, an astrology business or something like
Mhm.
that. How can they get themselves in front of an audience that's not their audience, right? Because if maybe they have their own TikTok channel or their own YouTube channel or whatever it is, how can they get in front of another audience that they don't own,
Mhm.
um, so that they can start speaking? And how can they then put some of what you've talked about today into practice?
Absolutely. So, first off, is speaker in your bio. I want
Mm,
you to make sure that speaker is in all of your bios. And also on your website, do not put your speaker information in your About Me. If I'm a meeting planner coming to your website, I want to see that there's an actual speaker page. So make a speaker page. And I actually did an entire podcast episode on my podcast, which is Be in Demand, on the 7 essentials that your speaker website, speaker page needs to have. And I list off what those 7 are. And if you're just starting out, you just start with what you have and you just add them as you can. Another idea at the end of your videos, you could just have a line that you share with people over and over and over again. And if you have a podcast, a mastermind, or an event coming up that you're looking for a speaker on, whatever your topic is, send me a DM. Let's have a
mhm.
conversation about your event.
I love that.
It's
Yeah.
short, sweet, and you just do it over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And even in your emails, let people know that you're a speaker, that they can reach out to you. You
Yeah.
will be surprised at that your email will end up in somebody's inbox one day when they're a volunteer for an event. I'm speaking from experience. Many times this has happened to me. And somebody just reaches out and says, such and such, who's on your email list, is on our board for this particular conference and highly recommended you. We'd like to hire you. Like when
Yeah.
it's another referral from somebody
Hmm.
because they saw you speak, because they keep watching your videos. It's going to make those calls about booking you so much easier. They're going to be convincing you to say yes to them.
Oh, I would love that for all of my listeners to
Yes,
just be like
yes,
very in demand. Let's get everyone in demand.
yes. Just go out there and do your craft,
Hmm.
do your thing, but at the same time, let people know that they can book you.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
There's so much opportunity that's out there. So
Yeah.
much opportunity. And one of the things that I tell people when you're just getting started is to start with your warm market.
Mm,
Start with the people who already know you, like you, trust you, and the different Facebook groups, different associations, different masterminds that you're already a part of.
hmm.
Tap into them first. See if you can speak there, share your knowledge, and then
Hmm.
expand from there.
Okay. I'm thinking even like I just had the idea, invite your email list or your followers to a free like chat, like a Q&A type thing, and just practice your speaking chops like over a Zoom call that's exclusive to your followers.
Absolutely.
I
So it
love
sounds
that.
like one of the things that I do on for my podcast
Hmm.
is I have these monthly, and it kind of mentioned it earlier, the speaker circle.
Yeah.
And it's an event where I will share, I do like a 10 to 15-minute training, and then I
Hmm.
open the questions, I open the floor up to any questions, anybody who's there. Now it's limited to 12 people. The reason why
Oh.
it's limited to 12 people is because then I go around the room. One of my beliefs is that speakers need to network with other speakers so that you can be referring each other. So
Mm.
then I go around the room to everybody who's present on the Zoom and
Hmm.
they get to share who they are, what they speak about, and where they can be found.
Oh,
So
that's
that if
brilliant.
you listen on my podcast,
Hmm.
You're hearing all of these different speakers.
Oh, that's incredible. I
Yeah.
love that idea. And I love that it's just more of people lifting up other people, other speakers, other artists, other writers, other, women, whoever.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that.
And it's also a great way, like I get to, because I open the floor up to questions about the topic, but as soon as everyone's done with those questions, I then open it up to anything about speaking, as long as I still have time for that, because
Hmm.
these calls are under an hour. But then I get to hear what other topics that people are interested in.
And
And
then you
so,
can create
bingo,
more content from that.
next month, yes, and
Yes.
next month the
Okay.
speaker circle will be on that particular topic or that topic. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Oh my gosh, Laurie-Ann, this has been such a treat. I want to be mindful of your time and I really appreciate you coming on my podcast and telling all of my audience how they can be speakers and help their own careers. So, just really quick, where can my audience connect with you after this episode?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, which is speakandstandout.com. You can find your favorite way, favorite social platform that you want to follow me on, which is typically either LinkedIn, Threads, or Instagram. And also, my podcast is Be in Demand. And the lead magnet that I was sort of chatting about just momentarily is the new listener guide, really
Hmm.
has my 10 most downloaded episodes. And it's sort of divided up into like if you're a beginner, if you're mediocre, if you're like, oh, I shouldn't say mediocre. I mean, like you've got some experience, but you want to take it to the next level. So you can get that at speakandstandout.com/guide. And inside of that guide are my other resources that I have for people, like the directory of places to speak.
Perfect. And we're going to have all of those links down in the show notes so you don't miss them if you are listening or if you're watching on YouTube. Those links will all be down below. So, Laurie-Ann, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you
And
so much.
oh, you're welcome. And listeners, I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Come follow us on social media at our handle at WordWitchCC. That's WordWitch, C for copy, C for consulting, and don't forget to hit subscribe to keep the magic flowing. See you in the next episode.